Okay, today we're going to talk about the idea of original sin within Christianity. And I'm going to try to make an interesting connection. I don't know for sure if this connection exists, but I think there's a possibility there is. So I think it's interesting. I think it's worth exploring that idea. So we're going to talk about it today. Okay. So, original sin, um, that is that's kind of the one of the big takeaways from the story of Adam and Eve eating from the tree of knowledge against God's commands in the Garden of Eden. Um, and the way that's basically told is that because they did that, they pass on a sinful nature to the rest of humanity. And that is kind of the fall of man from God. So there's that kind of just brief explanation. And now the the part that I'm more interested in today is the idea of inherited guilt. And now I'm gonna preface this by saying that not all sects of Christianity believe in the idea of inherited guilt, but some do, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. So if your sect doesn't believe in that, then I'm not talking about you. Okay. Um, I think today, so today I think I'm going to focus on Catholicism, which I think is kind of mixed on this idea. I think more recently in history, like relatively speaking, they reject the idea of inherited guilt. Um, but I do know that Saint Augustine, which is a very obviously revered figure because he's a saint, um, he pretty much did believe in it because he believed that infants who were not baptized went to hell. So, um, there is inherited sin, the idea of inherited sin, inherited guilt, I should maybe say, that is within the Catholic Church. But I think probably most Catholics today would not say that, but it is in there historically. And then um, the Reformed Church, they do believe that humanity inherits the guilt of Adam and Eve. Okay, so there's that establishing. I've just established that the idea of inherited guilt exists within Christianity. So now I'm going to explore the idea. This is the interesting connection I was talking about at the beginning. Is it possible that this idea of inherited guilt has enabled the white guilt propaganda, the idea that white people today are guilty for the sins of their white ancestors, or maybe not even necessarily their ancestors, but white people of the past. Like slavery is the obvious example. The transatlantic slave trade. Is it possible that the idea that the sins of the first people to ever exist, the guilt from that has been inherited to all of humanity still today? Is it possible that idea is somehow connected, somehow enables, somehow makes Christians today more susceptible, more vulnerable to this propaganda of the idea of white guilt, inherited white guilt. Um, I think it's possible. I think that I don't know. I think that's an idea worth considering. And now I'm going to pose the how Islam is different from Christianity, because we do not believe in that idea. We do not believe that we are born guilty or even of a sinful nature. We believe that everyone is born pure, is born. We actually believe that everyone is born a Muslim, which is why you might hear people say that people you might hear people say they reverted to Islam instead of they converted to Islam, because if we're speaking if we're using a precise language from the Islamic view, we would not say anybody converts to Islam, they only reverts to Islam, because everybody in the Islamic view was a Muslim when they were born. Because a Muslim is someone who submits their will to God, and we believe that everyone is born in that state, and that's called that relates to the fitra, which is the innate inclination to recognize God. And I think that extends to having the inclination as well to recognize morality. But it's possible that relates more to intellect. I'm not entirely certain, or maybe they're both connected. But yeah, there's that. I think that's enough for today. So yeah, the idea of original sin and by extension inherited guilt within some sects of Christianity could possibly enable the white guilt propaganda. And Islam is different in that there is no concept of inherited guilt. So that's all for today. Maybe we can explore this idea at a later time. Let me know if you think this is interesting.